feather in the back. Let's talk to Brian in Michigan. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, I have no doubt that Rand Paul was threatened, but despite that, I will never forgive him for endorsing Mitt Romney. And I also disagree with Jack Hunter's analysis, saying that he had to do it to become president in 2016, because there's two problems with that. The first of all, who's going to vote for him now in 2016? Because he's lost any chance of me voting for him, as well as Rand Paul. And the second problem is who's to say that the Republicans wouldn't play dirty tricks on him like they did to Ron Paul in 2012. And I hate to see a wasted effort go by, because I know people worked hard in the Liberty campaign in the presidential run. I would just think the Ron Paul supporters, and I know he's not perfect, but he is similar at least, and just to go with Gary Johnson this year.
Anything else?
Well, that's all I have to say on Rand Paul. If there's I like to plug a book if there's time. Just if a good fictional murder mystery that'll wake people up to the New World Order is called Swear an Oath by Kevin Morris.
All right. Thank you so much for the call, Kevin. I'm joking. I know your name's Brian. We do have Ventura joining us tomorrow. It's going to be a very informative interview. The future of conspiracy theory on True TV, his lawsuit that's now gone to court. Last week, that breaking news up at Infowars.com. I've got a bunch of other news concerning NATO doing drills inside the U.S. to take on American terrorists, unprecedented tyranny and treason, and more. A few more of your phone calls, then Tarpley is coming up to give us the latest on Syria, where he's traveled to, and Rand Paul. Okay, folks, Webster Tarpley coming up. Not only has he recently traveled to Syria and can break down the admissions that al-Qaeda is working for NATO, so I'm now unpatriotic because I don't hail al-Qaeda. We are also going to be speaking with him first about Rand Paul, Ron Paul. I saw him about a week and a half ago and got in a big argument with him about Rand Paul being sellouts to the New World Order. He didn't show any evidence of that, but he did say, you watch, they're going to go more and more with the establishment, and that indeed did happen. So we're going to get his take on all of that coming up in a moment. Also, we got the Bilderberg documents from '66 where they were freaking out about de Gaulle and centralized government economic nationalism. That's the model that Tarpley believes in. And he says de Gaulle is the model of that and was telling me that. And then I get these Bilderberg documents, and it's all about how much they hate de Gaulle in '66 and how they've got to get rid of him, which they did do. And I'm not endorsing de Gaulle. I don't know enough about him, and I know a little bit. I've read about him and read some of it, but I can't, like, endorse him because I'm not a historian like Tarpley, who's particularly looked into that area. So we'll start out from that perspective and not just have a a heated, angry debate, because I like Tarpley, and I don't find it enjoyable to just sit there and hiss at each other because he believes in a state system. He says he's a statist, and all I see is nightmares from the state. I get if you have a corporate fascist world government that's above the law, that's bad too. But it's not like either Tarpley's view or Ron Paul's view is the way to go. I'm just trying to have the public engage in a debate about these issues. So that's coming up. Marlis in Washington. Is that Washington State or Washington, D.C.?
Washington State.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hey, just a few points here if I could make real quick. I didn't get involved in Paul's campaign this year because I was involved in it quite heavily in '07, '08, but it didn't take me very long to realize that his campaign was heavily infiltrated by the opposition. And it was very, very disheartening when you put so much energy into something to have the rug basically pulled out from under you by people who don't do really what they need to do to make things work. So it was really frustrating, even though I went to the caucus this year and supported him and actually went to the county as a delegate. But I wanted to put a little angle on this, him and what's going on lately. If a hit was ordered on Paul, and Paul thought that if he was bumped out, there would have been blood in the streets because of the fervor of his flock, perhaps it's possible that to prevent the bloodshed, he went this route, being a man of peace. Now, I'm not making excuses for him, but it just put another spin
Yeah, but
on
I mean, even the response by Campaign for Liberty is, hey, we got to play politics, get the Republicans to like us. Well, just endorse the wars, the torture, the banker bailouts then. I mean, just become Mitt Romney then. I mean, why didn't Ron Paul do that if this is such a great thing? And then I don't want to hear, oh, Ron Paul is Ron Paul, Rand Paul is Rand Paul. Listen, Ron Paul is involved in all the strategy of this. They coordinated his announcement Thursday, that Ron Paul's, that, oh, we can't win now, as if that wasn't already known, with Rand coming out and endorsing him. And my whole point is, going in that direction, Ron Paul was good because he was fighting the wars, fighting the banksters, exposing corporate welfare. That's something Republicans don't understand, and now they're starting to. They're like, well, all corporations are good and all government's bad. And I'm like, wait a minute. Corporations that hire people are good and that are constitutional, but if you're a multinational corporation that writes the laws to be exempt from the laws you put on your competition, and your main business model is banker bailouts and government contracts, you're the enemy. You know, all these defense contractor people are like, oh, you know, we need a bigger defense budget. It's not even our military. It's there to enforce these banksters' operations, and Ron Paul talked about that, and that's the antithesis of Bilderberg Group. But endorsing Mitt Romney, that is the Bilderberg Group. We'll be back with Webster Tarpley.
Hi, this is Al.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another worldwide hour of truth. In defense of liberty and resistance to tyranny, I am Alex Jones, your host. Again, it is Monday, the 11th day of June, 2012. And for the balance of the hour, Dr. Webster Griffin Tarpley, doctor of history, he's also an economist, will be joining us. He is the author of George H.W. Bush, the unauthorized biography. He also wrote the unauthorized biography of Barack Obama. And he is a 9/11 truth scholar and activist, a A.B. Princeton 1966 summa cum laude, Bi Beta Kappa Fulbright Scholar, University of Turin, Italy, M.A. in Humanities from Skidmore College, and Ph.D. in History from the Catholic University of America. He is fluent in Italian, German, French, Latin, and Russian, which is always interesting when you're at events with him because he's conversing in different languages with people. Tarpley is a true character, and I like him. In fact, he's one of our favorite people here around the office. He's also very funny in private, and we'll try to get him to do some fun things at the end. I said, will you do the Ron Paul imitation later? And he said, if you behave yourself. And so like a trained seal, I am here waiting for my treat at the end. So Tarpley is here with us. Now listen, this is what happened. Just to preface this, it's like 10:30 at night or later. I get there to interview Jim Tucker Friday night in the middle of Bilderberg. I've been screaming all day. I have no voice. I'm totally exhausted. And there's Jim Tucker. I'm there to interview Jim Tucker, and Tarpley's mad at what's being said and is interjecting. So we start arguing with each other. By the time I get to him, you know, we dispense with the pleasantries, and like two gamecocks start slicing each other up because he's saying, your buddy Ron Paul is going to sell you out. Yes, the Bilderberg likes him. And I'm like, come on, Tarpley. I can understand that you believe the state can organize things and empower people. Ron Paul believes the opposite. But your analysis about the corrupt oligarchs we've got is spot on. And his instincts about what Obama would do. He's a key part of the Obama deception. His instincts are very, very accurate when it comes to politics. I just don't, I'm not as big a romanticist as he is. You know, we debate monetary policy. Should it be a government fiat currency like Lincoln had, or should it be a gold currency? Just because I entertain both doesn't mean I'm flip-flopping. We're having a debate. But overall, monetary education, cultural education, being involved, knowing how systems work, that's the answer. Now, he starts going off into a rant about de Gaulle and how, that's the type of system he likes. And as I'm trying to get him to quantify it, and then later, a few days later, I get secret Bilderberg Group documents leaked to us, and part of the 300 pages that Aaron's now published, Infowars.com, is all about them obsessed with de Gaulle in '66, meeting in Wiesbaden, Germany. and how if his nationalism spreads, it'll kill their command and control. I get the philosopher king. If you're going to have a quasi-socialism, if you have somebody like de Gaulle who does it to actually empower people and build infrastructure, those infrastructures like coral reefs can supply an ecosystem. My issue is it always goes downhill and gets taken over and becomes horribly corrupt and out of control. So Tarpley wants to address first, because I asked him the other day on the phone, I said, are you a communist? It was like the Un-American Affairs Committee meeting. I said, listen, I get what you're saying. I don't disagree with your analysis of the problems, but are you a communist? Because, you know, my experience, look, liberals that say governments can empower people, they want my guns, they want my private property. He says, no, that's not the system. And he says, I want to explain to your audience this de Gaulle model. So he'll tell us about that briefly, describe who he is, and then tell us why. Because you notice I haven't had Tarpley on the last 4 or 5 months because it was just like endless Ron Paul ranting when I knew Ron Paul was out of the race by then anyways. And the Ron Paul supporters are like, hey, say get involved with the delegates. And I said, okay, I guess to try to influence the platform, but this is going nowhere. And people got mad at me from that side. Tarpley got mad that I wasn't saying, you know, that Paul was El Diablo. And I'm just like, look, most of the manufactured food, it's not the right word for it. The processed food has nanotech in it now, and it's being found in our brains. You know, GMO is killing us. Vaccines are deadly. By the way, Tarpley thinks all that's great, too. So that's why I think in his worldview, there's a few blocks missing. Of course, with me, too, anybody who's smart, you know, got their things about them that are, you know, quirky or whatever. And I'm not trying to be mean to Tarpley. And I will ask you those questions later. I also want to get into Syria where you've traveled to. But there's my preface to this. Tarpley, who are you? Have you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
No. And let me point out right at the beginning, this thing about Marxism, Leninism, this is a complete red herring. I represent the American system of political economy. Notice it's called the American system, not the Austrian system, and it's not even the de Gaulle system. It is the characteristic economic school of the United States. It starts with Governor Winthrop in Massachusetts Bay. It goes to Benjamin Franklin, who founded the post office that we have to fight to save today. It continues with Alexander Hamilton, who created the federal government and allowed this country to live when it was on a British death watch in the beginning of the 19th century. Goes on to Henry Clay. Henry Clay coined the term the American system, and this was a protective tariff, a national bank, and infrastructure paid for by the federal government, even if it's only in one state.
Yes. Now I agree with that.
Hang on, there's more. Lincoln, right? This is Lincoln and the people around Lincoln. We shouldn't forget Friedrich List, the greatest critic of British free trade, the guy who said free trade and free market is the way the British dominate the world. So if you're going to build an economy, you've got to have a full set economy, and whether you're Germany or the United States or whoever you are, you've got to use protectionism to keep the British out. And that was the Republican Party doctrine. Henry Carey, another important guy. You go to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. That was founded, it's in a charter, to teach the American system of Henry Carey. And instead you go there and these lobotomized professors today don't even know who he was. Then it goes underground. And this is the part where we can see for ourselves. When the gold standard was restored, the crime of 1873, the deed done in the dead of night, the species